But without further ado, I will like to bring up Matthew.
Thank you.
Here you go.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Camilla. To make the loss of these lives matter.
This was the exact moment that I knew that this guy is a lunatic. This guy is a lunatic, and there's something up with this whole situation. Who, when they're invited to talk about some dead children, opens up with, you're talking about a travesty, children that have been murdered, and you open up with a
matter. My wife and I, Camilla, we spent most of last week on the ground with the families in Uvalde, Texas. We shared.
I'm sorry. My wife and I, we spent most of last week on the ground, like he's a military helicopter. Where else would you spend most of your time? In midair? Of course you're on the ground. I'm on the ground. Matthew McConaughey is trying to let you know that, listen, I was on the ground. I was on the ground. That's strike two. When he said on the ground, I was like, strike one. Like, you're not in Wolf of Wall Street, man. You're not supposed to be acting right now. You're supposed to be devastated. It's supposed to be an emotional thing. You just spontaneously decide to go up there. I mean, forget about the fact, like, why is a Hollywood actor up there in the White House? Why? Why does what a Hollywood actor think matter more than what anyone thinks? The answer is it doesn't. It doesn't matter anymore what Matthew McConaughey thinks to what anyone else thinks. The reason why Matthew McConaughey's up there is because he's a professional actor. And what he's going to try and do is stoke your emotions. He's going to try and get an emotional response out of you. And there's something very strange about this interview to do with a pair of Converse, which we'll come to in a second. I just want to set the scene by showing you what a freak I believe this guy is.
I'm here today in the hopes of applying what energy, reason, and passion that I have into trying to turn this moment into a reality. Because as I said, this moment is different. We are in a window of opportunity right now that we have not been in before.
Window of opportunity. This is how Matthew McConaughey describes a room full of dead children. A window of opportunity. We got a window of opportunity here. What did he do? Phone up the White House and say, hey, you see those dead kids? Listen, we got a window here. We got an opportunity. I'll get on the next plane. I'll come over there. I'll write a speech. Okay, I'm going to need one size 15 pair of Converse.
Uvalde is where I learned responsible gun ownership. Now, Uvalde called me on May 24th when I learned the news of this devastating tragedy. I had been out of cellular range, working in the studio all day when I emerged.
Uvalde, Texas called you, did it? Have you ever received, and you listening to this video, have you ever received a phone call from Chicago? Have you ever picked up your mobile phone and be like, oh, someone's calling me. Who is it? Oh, it's Manchester. Hi, guys. How's it going?
And messages about a mass shooting in the town I was born in began flooding my inbox. In a bit of shock, I drove home, hugged my children a bit tighter and longer than the night before. And then the reality of what had happened that day in the town I was born in set in. So the next morning, Camilla, myself, the kids, we loaded up the truck and we drove to Uvalde. When we arrived a few hours later, I got to tell you, even from the inside of our vehicle, you could feel the shock in the town. You could feel the pain, the denial, the disillusion, anger, blame, sadness, loss of lives, dreams halted. We saw ministries, we saw first responders, counselors, cooks, families trying to grieve without it being on the front page news.
So let me get this straight. From the inside of Matthew McConaughey's car, you saw a cook trying to grieve, and you felt all the cook's pain and sadness, everything through the door of your vehicle. And finally, the thought you had was, these people are trying to breathe without it being on the news. I know what they need. They need a Hollywood actor to come in immediately and start taking meetings at the funeral home and the local butchers and the deli.
We met with the local funeral director and countless morticians who hadn't slept since the massacre the day before, because they've been working 24/7 trying to handle so many bodies at once. So many little innocent bodies.
Did you know that the police stood outside the school where the kids were being shot for like an hour and refused to go in, and they started arresting the parents of the children for trying to get into the school and do something? Matthew McConaughey doesn't mention this once for his whole speech where he gets really emotional about how terrible it is and we need to do something. Not once does he say, oh, by the way, the police officers probably should have gone into the school. And the police officers say, well, we didn't go in there because, you know, we could have been shot. It's like, yeah, you mean like the school children? That's like the army saying, oh, yeah, we let the country get invaded because, you know, we could have been killed. You know, that's your job to go in there. But the fact that Matthew won't mention that because there's no political points to be scored. And this whole speech is about political points. And the proof of this revolves around this very strange story about a pair of Converse. And I'm going to cut to that story now.
Show these shoes, please. 9 years old. Maite cared for the environment so strongly that when the city asked her mother if they could release some balloons into the sky, in her memory, her mom said, oh, no, Maite wouldn't want to litter. Maite wore green high-top Converse with a heart she had hand-drawn on the right toe because they represented her love of nature. Camilla's got these shoes. Can you show these shoes, please? Wore these every day. Green Converse with a heart on the right toe. These are the same green Converse.
Yeah, I can do that with my voice as well, Matthew. Ready? These are the same green Converse. These are the same green Converse. Yeah, I can do that as well. Look, let me get this straight. Put the shoes back up here. Let me get this straight. These shoes, apparently, this is an 8-year-old's pair of shoes. Is she an 8-year-old that also played in the NBA? These shoes have been worn every day. These aren't a brand new pair of adult Converse shoes. These are the shoes that an 8-year-old wore. These Converse have been worn every day by an 8-year-old. That's what you're asking to believe. This is an 8-year-old, and these shoes are so special to this 8-year-old that's been killed, and her parents, that's such a key item of clothing that her parents gave them to Matthew McConaughey so that his wife could hold them in a press briefing. Do you know what gets even weirder? His wife is wearing them later. Look at this. This is a photograph of Matthew McConaughey's wife wearing those shoes talking to police. So you're asking me to believe that this pair of shoes is owned by the little girl that got shot, and Matthew McConaughey's wife is fucking wearing them? She's just walking around with her big size 12 men's feet in them? With her sideburns and her package? Like, what? This is such a weird scenario. They're obviously lying about these shoes. Look, here they are. Here the actual girl's shoes are versus these shoes that they're using as like a prop in a movie. This is really sick.
These are the same green Converse on her feet that turned out to be the only clear evidence that could identify her after the shooting. How about that?
So I guess my question would be, why is Matthew McConaughey's weird wife lying about a pair of dead girls' shoes? This is one of the most sick things I've ever seen the deep state do. And even for Hollywood actors, man, this is low. Pretending that your transvestite wife is wearing a pair of dead girls' shoes when they're clearly like size 16 and have never been worn before, and she's walking around wearing them? Dude, these people are out of control and they need to be stopped. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I'll have more for this for you as it's breaking. Please like, subscribe the video. If you want to support the channel, the link to the subscribe star is in the description. I really do need as much help as I can get in these trying times. So thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next video.
How about that?
That's the end of the video again. The video's ending in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ending now. It's the end of the fucking video, man. Go fuck yourselves.